first. All right, good. Okay, so you may have noticed that we uploaded a study guide yesterday. Yay! Yay! So that means there is a test a week from today. A week from this moment, I will be handing out a test for you all. The test will be more intensive than the first test you took. So you can find the study guide on Google Classroom. Here is a physical copy of the study guide. Hooray! So, we'll go to the study guide really, or we'll answer a few questions on the study guide. Is that for an extra one? Yeah, I got two. You need one? I thought I had just enough. So I shared. Everybody have study guide? Everybody good? Yes. Okay. Yes, you'll notice there are 16 questions. There are 16 answers on the back. I am generous to you all. Don't forget that. Yeah, Cameron, it's not on. Cameron? Yes. Alright. Hey, how are you talking? You good? 16 questions, 16 answers. I will tell you right now, number 11 and number 13 are guaranteed to be on the test. Number 11 and number 13 are guaranteed to be on the test. Give the right to Ten Commandments. That's correct. Doesn't have to be in order. So 11 is on the back side. 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, and 11.4 are all part of question 11. And then 13.1 through 13.10 are all part of number 13. So, guaranteed both of those will be on the test, so make sure you study those. We will go over the Ten Commandments today in class. Yes? You'd have to be. Yes, so when I'm going to write them down today, and I will summarize them, I will write them in shorthand, and you can feel free, as long as the idea is there. Yes. You don't have to write it word for word like it is on the study guide. None of these will be multiple choice. I do not believe in multiple choice.
Why?
That's not exactly true. I did have one multiple choice question on the last test. You got that one wrong. I got that one. So, I don't do a lot of multiple choice. I want you to know these things. Remember though, the test will entirely come from the study guide, but it won't necessarily be the entire study guide. In fact, I'm sure I won't make it all 16 questions. So you'll need to know them all, but it won't be all 69 tests. Just another thought, or another thing on number 11. Remember, this is the essay question. I put bullet points in the answer on the answer key in the back. It's bullet points, but it will be an essay question. So make sure you have those 4 first points, and then what's in parentheses in the back is the really important part of the answer. If you miss the parts in parentheses, then you're going to get it entirely wrong. So the question is, how is the Passover related to the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ? The first part of each point is the part of the Passover, and then the part in parentheses is how it connects. So if you're missing how it connects, you're missing the entire answer. So you absolutely need the parts in parentheses, and then for full credit, you'll need all 4 of those points with the connections to Jesus. Does that make sense? We good on that? Great. Notice too that the different pieces I'm including in this. The first 5 books of the Bible, name them in order, and spelling does count. Spelling, I know, make sure you know it, spelling does count. Any other questions on the study guide before we move on? We good? The test is a week from right now. Make sure you know it. This is a great opportunity to get some good points and get a lot of points before the end of the first quarter.
For the final question, will you give us like an answer for what it will be?
Or what?
Like a hint, like on the test? Because how are we supposed to know exactly what it is?
I want you to have it memorized. Deuteronomy 34, ends in 14, the end of the book of Deuteronomy. Ends in 14, the death of Moses. Know that that's how the book begins. We good? Yes? Great. Okay, so where we last left our heroes. They had just crossed through the Red Sea on dry land. The Egyptians, we were drowned behind them. They're finally free from the grip of the Egyptians. They're wandering in the desert. God leads them to Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai. God leads them to Mount Sinai. The people all stay at the bottom of the mountain, and Moses goes up to the top of the mountain to speak to God. And it is there God, that's what I'm looking for, reaffirms his covenant. He makes a covenant with Moses, which is the 4th covenant we've seen so far, right? Adam and Eve, Noah, Abraham, and now Moses. And what is the key centerpiece of this covenant? Cynthia.
Bringing the Israelites to the mountain, or
Or she's saying, what's the sign of that?
oh,
That was from the homework, right? That they would worship on this mountain, right? And so we see that. What is the key part of that covenant? The Mosaic law, and in particular the 10 Commandments. Very good. Very good. So God gives the 10 Commandments. God gives the law here. God gives the law, and now the people are free from slavery. Now He's teaching them how to live. He's teaching them how to live. Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to go through the 10 Commandments. We're in Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20 is where we are starting today. Yes, make sure your Bibles are out. Always. The Bibles are always out, right? Pull your notebook, pull your Bible out right away. Yeah. That noise is unnecessary. Exodus what? Exodus chapter 20. Oh, you got English Standard Version too. That's my favorite translation. All right, chapter 20. God spoke these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a graven image, or anything, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them, or serve them. Number 1, do not worship other gods. Right? Shall have no other God besides me. Notice how I spelled gods. It is with a lowercase g. Why?
Because there's only one true God.
Yes. And that God gets a capital G, right? Rick.
You just study God that has a capital G.
Oh, look at that. That was a mistake. Good job, good catch. Yeah, there should be a lowercase g.
required actually.
That should be a lowercase g. Good catch. You're the first one all day to catch that, by the way. So thanks for paying attention. I make lots of mistakes, so you all feel free to call me out on my mistakes. Good catch. That is going to get you a participation point. All right. One. Do not worship other gods. Do not bow down before idols. Brings us to verse 7. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. So what does this mean? It means don't use God's name flippantly. Don't use his name loosely, right? Want to have respect for the name of God, right? We see the Jews take this even further. They say, we're not even going to pronounce the name of God. We're not even going to pronounce his name. But we see, unfortunately, we see in today's day and age, this commandment is being broken more and more frequently. So one of the common ways in which we do this, we say something to somebody, and we're like, I swear to God, I'm going to do that. I swear to God, I'm going to do that. Right? And we say that just very loosely, right? We're not even trying to, back up our word there, right? So don't do that. The full form of gosh darn it, right? That's something we're starting to see on TV and movies a lot more now. I cringe every time I hear it. Don't say that one. Don't take the name of the Lord's name in vain. If I hear that, that's going to be instant attention for me. So definitely don't want to hear that. I just said it? No. I said the PG version of it. Yeah. Gosh darn it is not the word that I'm actually referencing. I know. Alright, are we clear on number 1 and number 2 so far? We good? We'll move on. Number 3. We are now in verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day, keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. In it you shall not do any work, you, your son, your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, your cattle, or the sojourner who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. All right. Remember and keep the Sabbath. What's the Sabbath?
It's Sunday. So.
It is Sunday for Christians.
Sabbath is their day of prayer, worship, and rest. And
yes, what is the day of Sabbath for Jews?
Saturday.
Saturday. Why is that?
Because they believe that
Yes, so what day is the 7th day?
uh,
Saturday, which means what day is the first day of the week?
Sunday.
Sunday is the first day of the week. Right? So, on 6 days God worked, on the 7th day he rested. So that's why the Jews keep Saturday as their Sabbath day. Right? It's the last day of the week. Sunday is the first day of the week. It's not Monday. Sunday is the first day of the week. Why have Christians changed the Sabbath? Man-made tradition. We've changed the Sabbath. We've broken God's law. Yes, because of Easter, the day that Jesus rose victorious over sin and death. Proof that he has conquered sin and death was on a Sunday. And now the Sabbath has moved from the end of the week now to the beginning of the week with Sunday and the new resurrection of Jesus. Very good. Remember and keep the Sabbath. For Christians, that is Sunday. For Jews, that is Saturday. Very good. Number 4. Yes. Honor your father and your mother. Honor your parents. Now, does that necessarily mean do everything they say all of the time?
no.
So guys don't have to do the dishes when I ask?
Wait, let's be, so with a lot of, let me say this, with a lot of these are going to have very nuanced moral dimensions to them, right? So oftentimes when we talk about our moral lives, we exist in the gray area, right? So, honor your father and mother means give them the respect that is owed. Now, this commandment is different than all of the other commandments. Tell me why this one's different. Honor your father and mother that your days may be long in the land which the Lord your God gives you. Why is that different? You have a question?
No.
Okay, why is that one different?
Because it's the only one talking about your parents.
Well, okay, it's the only one talking about your parents, very good. But there's something different about this commandment than all of the other commandments.
It gives you more right.
Yeah, God attaches a blessing to this commandment. He doesn't attach a blessing to any other commandment. He attaches a blessing specifically to this commandment, which I find fascinating and interesting. That if you honor your parents, things will go well for you. You will have long days, right? Now, give your parents the respect that is owed due to them being your parents. And why is that? Because the relationship between you and your parents reflects the relationship of God and us. God puts your parents in authority over you, just as God is in authority over us. He gives them authority to raise you, to love you, just as He does. So, the way you treat your parents is the way you're going to treat God. Does that make sense? Great. Honor your father and your mother. So that brings us, I think, to verse 13. Yes. All right. Mine and in the study guide I wrote, you shall not kill. Does anybody have a different translation than you shall not kill? Yes, you know that without even having your Bible out? Wow. Do not murder. That is a better translation in my opinion. What is the difference between killing and murder? Yes, we're getting real dark here right now.
Okay, so killing is basically like, it could be anything, an animal, a person, this little insect on the ground that you stomp on. Murdering specifically focuses on a person.
Good guess, but I hope that's not quite the answer.
You could kill someone on accident. You can't murder someone on accident.
Ooh, there we go. Good. That's a really good distinction.
What happens if I purposely kill a bug? No, it's a serious question.
Murdering the bug.
No, serious. No, it's a serious question.
All
The
right,
bug deserved it.
so the distinction we're going to make is going to address that point too. So the distinction I'm eventually going to make will address that. So that's really close. So the way I would describe it is, murder is an unjustified killing. Murder is an unjustified killing.
Because there wouldn't be, I was going to say what about self-defense, but that's a justification.
Right, that would be a justified killing. Yes.
Maybe you have to kill for your master, your king, so like military.
But you still could have an unjust killing, right?
Right.
So it's really more dependent on the circumstances surrounding that.
I don't remember last year hearing that people in the military, it's okay for them to kill because they're defending their country.
Right, so a defensive country is a little bit legitimate, justified means, reason for that, right? So when we talk about murder, it's an unjustified killing, typically of an innocent human, right? So if the military orders you to destroy this building with innocent people in it, that's not justified, right? It's not good, that would be considered murder. So that's the justification is the key. So is it always clear if something is justified or not? No, right? It's not always clear. And that's what makes moral theology difficult at times because oftentimes, again, we're operating in the gray area. It's not always black and white. Sometimes it is, right? If I were to take this marker and stab him right in the eye and kill him, that would be a pretty obvious case of murder, right? And it wouldn't take long for me in court to be convicted of murder, right? That's operating in the black and white. This doesn't happen very often, right? I don't want to show of hands, but I imagine nobody here has done that, right? Thank you for completely putting your hand down. So, most of our lives lives in that gray space in moral theology. So it depends on the circumstances, depends on what's happening. Yes.
Yeah, I've got two things. One, I'm pretty sure you're going to say none of this, But, what if there's a building filled with
Okay.
a bunch of Taliban?
So, stop right there, stop right there. Stop right there. And so today's conversation, and every single one of these can go way off the rails, right? The what if questions, what about this questions, and that's not where I want to go today. Because then I don't have enough time. I just don't have the time. I gotta get through all 10 of these today. And especially the ones coming up, we could do what if questions all day long. In fact, I think it's your junior year, Mr. Anderson, that is a moral theology class. That is where you're going to go through these questions and analyze and go through them in much greater depth. I want to make sure you understand the concepts today, just the bare concepts today. So, I appreciate the question, but we're gonna have to skip the what ifs today.
I had two.
All right, well, I'll come back to you.
So it is justified if I just like kill a dog on purpose?
So I think that especially, you talk about mosquitoes, right? They're sucking blood out of you.
Yeah, some
I
of
think
that.
that's justified. I think that's
Still
not.
money on stuff.
Yes. Especially how centipedes have all of creation to live in. My house is not one of those areas.
Okay, yeah.
I have a question. Does Father Jim teach a class here?
Nope.
Oh, the only Greece?
That teaches, yes. See,
What about if like you're hunting? Is that justified?
good. So, I think, so again, we sit in this gray area sometimes. Now, if you're hunting for food,
Yeah.
right, you go back, you take the venison, you do that, there's no problem there, right? Now, if you hunt the animal and you leave it, okay, then we might have some issues, we might need to, right? So, again, depends on the circumstances. Killing, hunting for sport that also brings in food, yeah, I don't think that's a problem. Right, we've been hunting for 1,000 years, that's kind of the way that's where all our food comes from, right? A lot of meat comes from that. But hunting for sport, you hear people in like Africa, they'll hunt elephants, take their tusks off and leave the rest of them, right? I imagine there's probably some sin there, right? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Great. I'll go back this way.
So what if you're hunting and you kill something, but like, it's like if you're killing a duck and it flies into the woods and you can't find it.
So you guys are giving me detentions today. I'm tired of this. Two of you, Ryan, James. Keep your feet to yourself. Move over. This is like the third time this has happened. You guys are getting detentions today. I'm tired of this. Thank you.
So what if you're like hunting for sport, like sport and food, and you kill I've hunted duck before.
Alright,
So like I've
this is a good point. So intentionality is certainly a part of it, right? Intentionality does matter. Now, for a sin levels or rises in gravity when you do it intentionally and with full knowledge, full consent, right? Great matter. Now, if you do it accidentally, the question then has to arise, were the circumstances such that you could have avoided it if you were more careful at the beginning, where you're being reckless, and you still accidentally did the thing, but perhaps if you were less reckless, you wouldn't have, so say you're drunk driving, right? And you certainly are committing the sin of being reckless and driving drunk, right? But then you run over somebody and kill them on top of that. It's not premeditated murder, right? But we would call that manslaughter, because you put yourself in a position to do this other bad thing. And because of your recklessness there, that increases the culpability here. Does that make sense?
I just want to say, I don't think I finished my question.
Oh,
I want to say, like, I shot a duck and it was wounded, but I knew it was gonna die, but it like flew away and we couldn't find it.
okay.
Is that justified or not?
If you would have found it and killed it,
Or if I couldn't find it.
gotcha. No, because you would have done the right thing given the chance, right? Okay. You just weren't able to, right? God doesn't ask us to do the impossible, right? You're not going to put guilt on us and sin on us that, hey, Give me up to me, we're done right there. I
And
just,
it's food and wild animals.
yeah, so I mean, right, so, yeah, that's all, that's part of it. So this is unjustified killing, murder, as opposed to just you shall not kill. I think that makes, that, this word's a closer word to what the original Hebrew had anyway.
I never got to my second question.
Okay, yes, good, what's your second
How are
question?
you going to hurt him with a blue exposure?
Okay. Moving on. Verse 14. Do not commit adultery. Great, do not commit adultery. God is now revealing to these people in a very profound way that the marital act belongs within marriage. Sexual act belongs within the context of marriage, and that only. Right? That's what God is saying here. About the test, get go.
Does it have to be in order?
It has to be in order, yes. Yes, it has to be in order. You may. Any questions on number 6?
Is it committing adultery like having 2 wives?
No. So especially remember we were talking about polygamy in that time, right? Polygamy has not been expressly condemned at that time. So polygamy was a common practice. It would be like you have one wife and you're now with another person,
Or you're not there.
but you're not married to them. So have relations with someone you are not married to.
What happens if you're married and like your wife died or something? It will still be adultery.
Ooh, good question. So in the common marriage vows, right? What's the last word? Till death do us part, right? Once one of the people who have been married dies, they're no longer married. The other person is free to remarry. So no longer considered married. Good question though, very good question. All right, do not commit adultery. 7. That brings us to verse 15. Do not steal. Do I need to explain this one?
No.
Pretty self-explanatory, right? Don't steal.
I thought this wasn't a commandment.
Chapter, so you have the Bible up? Chapter 20, verse 15, what's it say?
Okay, if a man seduces a virgin.
Whoa. Chapter 20, verse 15. Chapter 20, verse 15.
I'm sorry, I messed up one two pages.
That's all right. Chapter 20, verse 15. I regret everything.
Oh, it says you shall not steal. Okay.
I regret all things. Let's all just take a deep breath. In and out. Okay. Let's move on. Do not steal. From now on, that will be self-explanatory. On the other side, no one will ever forget chapter 22, verse 15. Oh, Ask your classmates after class what happened.
It says verse 16 for me.
Alright,
That's not a good thing.
chapter 20, verse 16. Do not bear false witness against your neighbor. I do not bear false witness is close enough for me. I'm happy with that. Do not bear false witness. All right, what do we mean by that? Okay.
Don't do something and blame it on someone else.
Don't do something, blame it on somebody else. That's included. Don't lie. Does it always mean don't lie? Does that mean every lie is a sin?
Yes.
Wait, any one voice at a time.
Don't give a false testimony.
Don't give false testimony. That's certainly, definitely the strict sense of what that means, right?
Don't harm your neighbor's reputation.
Don't harm your neighbor's reputation, very good.
I have two things. One, literally this game is sort of like 90% of lying. And two, I actually heard a quote on this movie from like Night at the Museum, where I think Teddy Roosevelt was said to, I don't know his name. Sometimes it's better to tell a small, little white lie than make it live a terrible truth.
I would say that's probably bad advice.
I think it was.
Alright, so is lying a sin? Yes. Is lying always a sin? Yes. Now this brings up, so here's a good question to kind of highlight why a lot of this sometimes lives in the gray. Say you live in Germany, 1941. Oh boy, here we go, right? You're hiding Jews in your basement. The Nazis show up and they say, "Do you have any Jews in the house?" What do? Is it a lie? Is it okay to lie and say no?
Yes. You're
Great.
breaking their lives.
Great, right? We instinctively want to say yes, or no, we instinctively want to say no, right? We instinctively want to say no, that's not sinful because what we're trying to do is save their lives. That's, is everyone in agreement? Yes, that's an instinct, right? We all want to say that that's not a sin because we want to save the life of the Jews in the house, right? But how do we get past the fact that that's lying? If we have a God of truth who wants us only to speak truth, how do we get past that? What's going on here? So this is why, again, this is not bear false witness. Yes.
It's not technically a lie because you're saying something that's not true for a good reason.
Is the definition of lying saying something that's not true? Does it matter if the reason is good or not? Right? So there's good attempt, but it's not quite, you're not quite there. Because the definition of lying is saying something that's not true. You're absolutely saying something that's not true. You're saying there's no Jews in the basement, there are definitely Jews in the basement, right? The way the church has responded to a question like this is that, I bring this up because it's a really common objection. This is a really common thought experiment. Like, all right, what do we do? It seems like there's a contradiction. St. Thomas Aquinas would answer this question if he knew this question by saying that the Nazis didn't have a right to the truth. The Nazis there did not have a right to the truth. And so they're not actually doing something sinful in this moment. They have a right to the truth. Now that does not mean you get to go home and say that your parents don't have a right to the truth of knowing where you are on Friday night. You do not get to say that, because that's not true. They do have the right.
Oh, they always go running. It's called us a bowl now.
Okay, well that's good. This is good. Bowling is fun and good. Bowling is good. All right.
Not very.
So, right, your parents do have a right to that truth, though, right? That makes sense, right? You good? All right, do not bear false witness. Do not bear false witness. 9. Do not covet your neighbor's wife. Do not covet your neighbor's wife. Yes.
Doesn't this also apply to his land and or anything else?
We'll see that in the next one. Do not covet your neighbor's wife.
What translation has the other two mixed with them? I am the house.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's could be the way because it's all in one sentence, right? So it's probably the way the sentence structure was unentangled to get it into English. Remember, English is a very linear language, and oftentimes other languages are not so linear. So to make it linear, that's oftentimes what happens. So it might be just in translation. So what translation do you have? NAB? New American Bible, you've got ESV.
So doesn't matter when you put down the text.
I want this order. Yeah, I want this
Oh,
order.
you want your order?
My order. I want my order. Yes, make sure you got that. That should be the order that's on the study guide too. Right? And then, yeah, okay, great.
I read somewhere that the authors didn't think it was important for people to.
So sometimes you'll see 9 and 10 put together in one, and then there's like a split here. So it's, the way that some of these are ordered and split, there can be differences as well, right? Because God doesn't have a numbering, right? You're looking at your Bibles today, are any of them numbered? No, right? So the numbering system is something we impose on the text later. Some people do it differently than others. This is the way I want you guys to do this one. To me, this makes way more sense anyway. This one makes the most sense anyway. This is the one you'll see most commonly too, is this ordering. All right, so quickly let's talk about do not cover your neighbor's wife. What does it mean, cut it?
It's practically your own.
Yeah, so basically like right below taking it for yourself, right? Like you're putting yourself in a position where you might actually do that. When we're talking about covering your neighbor's wife, we're talking about lust, right? Talking about lust. And there's a difference between lust and attraction. Is it okay to be attracted to other people? Yes, it is. Right? It's a good desire in our hearts, something that God gives us. It's a gift to be attracted to other people. But to lust after somebody else is not good. And by lusting, I mean using somebody else as an object of our own gratification. They lose their humanity in that moment. Do not covet your neighbor's wife in that sense. Number 10 is very similar to it. Do not covet your neighbor's goods. And translations probably say house and label exactly different examples. Suffice to say, do not covet your neighbor's goods. So that looks at jealousy, envy, right? That goes after those two, jealousy and envy. So if your friend has the iPhone 13 and you're looking at it with jealousy, envy, that's not good. It's also not good because Android's better.
What?
There we go.
You just want to leave now?
Every class I've said this has started a huge fight. And I'm here for it.
What's wrong with
Flip phone. I had a flip phone till
I will read
2016.
chapter 2. I will read chapter 22, verse 15.
All right.
And it's still majority vote.
Do not cover your neighbor's goods. Are we good on the 10 Commandments? Any questions about them?
I don't.
We good? Yes.
What about treat others the way you want to be treated?
I can hear you. You gotta be a little louder.
What about treat others the way you want to be treated?
Ah. Are you surprised you don't see that on the 10 Commandments? Yeah, it's not there. Treat others as you'd want to be treated. Treat others as you'd want to be treated. It's not one of the 10 Commandments, is it? No, I meant just turn around.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to see the back of
You
your head.
literally put this finger on the right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not turning around. Why was that? I got 5 whole minutes with you guys. I think you take so many good notes in 5 minutes. We're not done.
Wait, is so many good notes mean like 1 sentence? Or 2
I have
minutes?
4 minutes, so I'm gonna use those 4 minutes. They are done.
I will